So, hello everyone. Nice to see you again. Today, I'm just going to demonstrate the, so-called, hello. Create a medallion architecture in a Microsoft Fabric Lakehouse. Let's get started. So for this purpose, I'm just going to share my screen. I strongly believe that my, screen is visible. And just a little bit info about, this lab. This video is being done in the frame of Fabric Data Days. The necessary links have been shared with you. In the chat box. Please be so kind as to type your questions in YouTube chat box. And also, please follow my video, subscribe it, and you will find other labs videos in next days. So, once again, I'm going to demonstrate how to create a medallion architecture in a Microsoft Fabric Lakehouse. It's lab, and the approximate length of today's lab is going to be roughly 45 minutes. So I have to be sure that I have, successfully using my credentials already, signed into the Fabric environment. I can use either app.fabric.microsoft.com or I can use app.powerbi.com, just addresses. So first, as always, I'm going to create a workspace, and the name of workspace is going to be Medallion. So let me, Medallion architecture workspace. So let's do it. So here I have my workspaces and say new workspace, and let's paste the name. So this is going to be Medallion. Let me make it a little bit bigger, and there should not be any space. And I'm going to change it replace it with underscore. So say WS workspace. So for description, I say labs proposal, pardon, only, and I have to be sure that the trial license is selected. Let's say apply. Thus, I'm completing the creating procedure of my workspace. So this is my workspace called Medallion Architecture underscore WS. As I'm inside of my newly created workspace, I'm going to create a lakehouse and I will upload data to bronze layer. So let's create a lakehouse, and I'm going to call it sales. So to do it, it's enough to click on new item, and let's type just lakehouse. And let's select this lakehouse, and let me paste the name, the sales, and it's in Medallion architecture underscore WS. I mean, in this workspace. So say create, thus my, say a new lakehouse is already created. After a minute or so, actually our lakehouse is created, and next we are going to ingest some data into these data lakehouse for analysis. And there are multiple ways to do this, but in this exercise, we'll simply download a text file to our local computer. So for this purpose, I'm going to share the link from where we will be able to download the necessary files. So taking it an opportunity, I'm going to share the link also in our YouTube text box, chat box, say like this. So let's open any, say, yeah, let me open this one and let me paste. So say enter, and here I can download this raw file, and it's already been downloaded. So let me go to my, downloads, and let me move it here. You can see some other files also here. So what I'm just going to do, I'm going to, extract this order one. So say extract, and everything here is extracted. So I have three, text formatted files, 2019, 2020, and 2021. So let me close them, and let me go back to my Fabric environment. So what I'm just going to do, I'm in the Explorer of my Lakehouse, and I'm going to select this one, files, and here I will create a new, say, a subfolder, and I will call it bronze. So I'm clicking on three ellipses and say new subfolder and say bronze and create. Thus, my new subfolder is being created, right? So now time to upload the downloaded three files in text formatted files to this new sub folder. So for this purpose, I'm selecting this one, hover over bronze new subfolder, and click on ellipsis and say upload and upload files. And from here, I say browse, and let me find it. And it's going to be my order ones. And let me select all of them, Control A, and say open. And say upload. And these files are going to be uploaded. Just pay attention. All these files have been already uploaded. So what we do next, so let's go to here and say bronze, and we see these files, and we are going to be sure that files really have been uploaded, right? So we have completed two steps, like creating a workspace and creating a lakehouse and uploading data to this bronze layer in this lakehouse. Now it's time to transform data and load to silver delta table. So how to do it? So first, we are coming to our home page. Actually, we are inside of our lakehouse. So here we see open notebook, right? We have existing notebook. When we click on drop down, we see existing notebook and new notebook. And here we are going to select this new notebook, right? And new notebook is going to be created. So, and and after a few seconds, as we are aware of it, new notebook containing a single cells. So here we see this one. Actually, we can, delete all of them. And so actually, these notebooks are made up one or more cells that can contain code and you see markdown, right? So when the notebook opens, let's rename this notebook. We can do it from here, and I'm going to call it transform data for silver. So let's say transform data for silver. Silver is going to be our next layer. And say enter, right? So after naming it, actually we already selected these, writings here and deleted this one. So just for info, notebooks enable you to run code in different languages like Python, Scala, and SQL. But in these labs, Microsoft enables us to use PySpark and SQL. And also we can, mark down cells to provide formatted text and images to document to our code. So there are a lot of codes. Actually, as once again, I shared the link for this lab. You can have a look there. So we're going to use this code. So roughly, the first code is about this. So let me copy and paste. So it's all about creating the schema for the table, for order table, and then it imports all files from bronze folder of Lakehouse, and it displays the first 10 rows of the data frame to preview our data. So here we can find the necessary, say, explanation and, code. So let's run this cell. It's going to be actually running session is starting because it's the first time, and Spark code in this notebook, for the first time, the related session is starting. Right? And when we end this, running session, we have to stop it. Otherwise, we can see, some, issues. So let's pay attention here. Session ready, and we can see that all the steps have successfully completed. And here we see the necessary output. Okay, so then what we do, we would like to review the output, right? And this is what we do right now. 10 rows, is previewed. So syncing to this one, display data frame head 10. Now it's time to use other, code for other purpose. Briefly saying, the first code helped us to load the data from CSV files into the bronze folder, into a Spark data frame. And then it helped us to display the first few rows, actually 10 rows of that data frame. Now we're going to add columns for data validation and cleanup. And we're going to use PySpark data frame to add columns and update the values of some of the existing columns. So for this purpose, what can we say? We can come here and click on this code. And there is one more code that has been written for us. So we say Control V, and this is the code that we have to run. And so let me give a little bit explanation and then run this code. So here, the first line, of the code imports the necessary functions from PySpark. Just pay attention, import when, lead, call, current, timestamp, input file name, so on and so forth. And then we are adding new columns to the data frame so we can track the source file name, whether the order was flagged as being before the fiscal year of interest, and when the row was created and modified. So just pay attention, add columns is flagged, so on and so forth. And last but not least, we are updating the customer name to unknown if it's null or empty. So let's run this. And let's wait for a while. Session is ready. And we can check also here. Let me decrease the size. And now we're going to use another code. Let me copy this code that will define the schema for the sales silver table in the sales database using Delta Lake format. And so let's copy the ready code and add here. So say code and Control V, and let's run this one. So it's going to be run, and let's wait for a while, running cell 3. So we have to wait for a while. And then we'll go to our table section in the Explorer pane, and we'll refresh our dataset. And I hope, will be able to see the sales silver table listed there. So just let's wait for a while. And let me, session is ready. So now it's time to go to Explorer pane. This is our Explorer and sales tables. So say bronze. And so here, what should we do? We have to select and hover over these tables and select ellipsis and say refresh, right? I hope after refresh, we will be able to see sales silver. So pay attention here. We have triangle, which is, which means that indicates that it's delta table. Okay. So till now, we have completed some steps of this lab. So what else should we do? Now we're going to perform an upsert operation on a delta table, updating existing records based on specific conditions and inserting new records when no match is found. So let's add this code block, right? So where we do this, so here we say code and let's paste it and just let's run, and it's going to be run. And this operation is very important because it enables us to update existing records in the table on the values of specific columns and insert new records when no match is found. And this is a common requirement when you are loading data from a source system that may contain updates to existing and new records. So now I hope the session is ready and we have our data in our silver delta table that is ready for further transformation and modeling. So now, as if you remember, I said that when you start for the first time session while you are using code blocks in PySpark, you should stop this session. So it's time to stop this session. We go to run and pay attention to stop session, and session stopped successfully. Session stopped. So we did it, but we have, of course, we do it after running this code block. So just pay attention. Everything is successfully here has been done. Okay. So one more step in this lab has been, completed. Now we are going on with our next step, which is all about exploring data in the Silver layer using the SQL endpoint. So now that we have our data in our Silver layer, and we can use SQL analytics endpoint to explore the data and perform some basic analysis. And this is very useful when we are familiar with SQL and want to do some basic exploration of our data. And actually, we are going to use SQL endpoint view in Fabric, but it's also possible to do this kind of analysis using SQL Server Management Studio and Azure Data Explorer. So for this purpose, so we are going to our workspace. This is our Medallion architecture workspace. Let's open it. And here we have SQL Analytics endpoint. Let's expand this part and let's select this one. Okay. And now we are going to see some SQL query. New SQL query tab here. So we're going to click on this. So let me click on this and our first SQL query. So here I'm going to copy a code block and I'm going to run it. And this new code in SQL. I mean, this query will calculate the total sales of each year in the sales silver table. And let's do it. Let me paste, Control V, and here I say run, and I have to see my output, right? So let's wait for a while, just pay attention here. Yes, I see my years with total just sales, right? And next, we'll review which customers are purchasing the most in terms of quantity, of course. And so to do this, we have to copy our code block, and we have to say new SQL query and paste, right? After pasting, we are going to run this one, and we have to see the necessary outputs. Here we have our customer names with total quantities in descending order, right? So data exploration at the silver layer is useful for basic analysis, but we will need to transform the data further and model it into a star schema to enable more advanced analysis and reporting. So we're going to do it in next step, so which is all about transforming data for gold layer. And now, just to summarize, we can say that we have successfully taken data from our bronze layer, transformed it and loaded it into a silver delta table. Now we'll use a new notebook to transform the data further, model it into star schema, and load it into gold delta, tables. And we could have done all of this in a single notebook, but for this lab, we're going to use separate notebooks to demonstrate the process of transforming data from bronze to silver and from silver to gold. And this can help with debugging, troubleshooting, and reusing. So we're going to back to our, workspace. So this is our workspace, Medallion, architecture, workspace. Here we see this kind of stuff. And just pay attention. We have to be very careful here. So we should going to, let's say, we have to select our sales lakehouse, or we have to click on this new item. So let's click on this. Our aim is just to add, one more notebook. So this is what we are going to do it. Actually, let's cancel this one. So let me cancel this one. I'm going to click on this lakehouse. So this is our lakehouse. Just pay attention, right? So, and here we should see add data items, and then we have to select our sales lakehouse that we created before. So, and then we should see the sales silver table listed in the table section of the Explorer, pane. Now it's a little bit tough here. So let's say new notebook, or let me go back once again. I have to be sure that this is my, it's this one. And here I'm going to say notebook, and I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to call this one like transforming data for gold, And here I have to be sure that this one is selected. So say created, and notebook is going to be open. Just pay attention here. And here I'm seeing in the Explorer pane something like add data items. And I say existing data sources. And here I'm selecting a new before created, lakehouse, and I say connect. Thus, so to summarize, I opened new notebook directly in my workspace, and from there I connected my new notebook with my lakehouse called sales, right? So let me open it or expand it. So I see my sales silver, and in here files I see my bronze, right? Now the time is copying and pasting codes that um, has been written in PySpark. So let me copy, and also let me delete this one, say Control V, and let's run this one and pay attention, starting session. Our session is start. So here we can receive, some uh, messages like too many requests for capacity, like error messages. This is the reason that we didn't stop the previous session. So it can be the reason, right? So we have to be very careful from this perspective, right? From this perspective. So now we see that our session is ready. We can check also here. And now it's time to add new code block. So let's copy. And here I'm going to say code and Control V, and I'm going to run this one. In this part, we are going to, we are going to apply a lot of code blocks. So, and I have also run this, code block. So now let's go on. Actually, this code will help us to create a date dimension table, right? This is the purpose of this code block, right? Okay. And now we're going to add new code block that will help us to create a data frame for our date, dimension, so-called dim date code. So let me copy this one, and let's add code and Control V and say run, and let's wait for a while, and it should be successfully completed. Okay, now we see the output, right? So we are separating the code out into new code blocks so that we can understand and watch what's happening here, right? In the notebook, actually. So as we transform the data. In another new code block, we'll add and run the other code to update the date dimension as new data comes in. So let's say copy, and let's say code and Control V, and let's run it, right? And our date dimension will be set up, and then we'll go on with creating new customer dimension. So of course, session is ready for creating a new customer dimension. We have to, of course, add new code block. So say copy, and here code and Control V, and say run, right? And let's wait for a while. And in next code block, we will, let me go down a little bit. We will add and run the other code. So to drop duplicate customers, select specific columns, and split the customer name column to create first and last name columns. So let's do it. I'm going to copy the code block and say code and Control V, and just pay attention, create customer silver data frame, display the first 10 rows of the data frame to preview your data. So say run, and here we're going to, I hope, see the output. We will be sure of that. We have created a new data frame, DFTeam customer silver, by performing various transformations such as dropping duplicates, selecting specific columns and splitting the customer name column to create first and last name columns. And of course, you see the output. The result is a data frame with cleaned and structured customer data, including separate first and last, name columns extracted from the customer name column. Now we're going to create an ID column for our customers. So for this purpose, we are going to use the next code block. So let's do it. Control V, and let's run it, right? And let's wait for a while. So thus we are cleaning and transforming customer data by performing a left, anti-join to exclude duplicates that already exist in the dim customer underscore goal table, and then generating unique customer ID, this one, values using the monotonically increasing ID function. Okay, so we will ensure that customer table remains up to date as new data comes in. So, and for this purpose, we are going to use a next code block. So let's use it. Control V, and let's run it. And let's wait for a while. And we have one more code, session is ready block. So, and the next code block will help us just to repeat all these steps to create our product dimension. So let's do it. New code, Control V, and say run. So we will wait for a while. And yes, now I hope it's going to be successfully completed. Session is ready. And also we are going to use another code block to create the product silver data frame. For this purpose, we are going to use a new code block, Control V, and say run. And let's wait for a while. So we see the output. Here we have item name, and item info. Now we're going to create IDs for our dim product goal table. And we are going to add syntax to new code block and run it. So let's do it. Actually, I'm copying and pasting these code blocks from lab on Microsoft Learn. So say code, Control V, and say run, right? And this newly added code will calculate the next, available product ID. Let's see. Yes, let's go back. Yeah. And so available product ID based on the current data in the table, and assigns the newly created IDs to these products and display the updated product information. So similar to what we have done with our other dimensions, we need to ensure that our product table remains up to date as new data comes in. So for this purpose, we are going to use one more, code block. So say Control V and say, run. And after successfully, running, we will be sure that now we have all our dimensions built out. And here, the final step is to create the fact table. So the next code block will help us for this purpose. So let me copy and let me come here, say code, Control V, and I'm going to run it. Maybe I will wait for a while, and I will have one more code block that will help us, will help me to create a new data frame to combine sales data with customer and product information, include customer ID, item ID, order date, quantity, unit price, and tax. So for this purpose, I will be using this code block. So let me add it. So code and say Control V, and I'm going to run it. Okay, and let's wait for a while. And I will have one more code block while this is, processed. And that will help me to be sure that my sales data also remains up to date. So now I see my fact tables here. Let me add or copy and paste my, the last code block. So say Control V and let me run it. And of course, after successfully running this code, uh, we can say that we are now using Delta Lakes merge operation to synchronize and update fact sales underscore goal table with new sales data. And this operation compares the order date, customer ID, and item ID between the existing data, silver table, and the new data that updates data frame, and updating matching records and inserting new records as needed. So we have now created a modeled code layer that can be used for reporting and analysis. So let's go back. So now we have left one more step that's about creating a semantic model. So we can do it. So for this purpose, we have to be sure that we need Power BI license, the necessary license, and or Fabric F64 SKU just for creating, semantic models, right? So to create a semantic model, let's go back to our sales lakehouse, and here we should see new semantic model. So let's click on this, and we see this window, and I'm going to call this one. We have to call this one. So let's call this sales gold, like this. And we have to be sure that actually we are in this workspace, right? So we are going to select this dim date gold, dim product gold, fact sales gold, and dim customer gold. We are leaving this one and say confirm, right? And we'll see one, model where we will build the necessary relationships between these, tables, right? So let's do it. Let's wait for a while. Okay. So yes, now our semantic model is being built. So let's wait for a while. So here, say yes. Now we can make some beautiful stuff. Let's do it. So what I'm going to do is building a relationship between this one. So my customer ID will be, related with this one. So say save. And then I'm going to build a relationship between order dates. So just pay attention, the cardinality is minute one, and say save. And last step is building the necessary relationship between this one, item ID, and item ID in fact sales gold table, 1 to many, and say save, right? So from here, me or other my colleagues of our data team can create reports and dashboards based on the data in our lakehouse. And these reports will be connected directly to the gold layer of our lakehouse, so they'll always reflect the latest data. Now we can actually go back to our Medallion architecture workspace. Let's open it. And here we can remove this, workspace. So for this purpose, it's enough to remove this workspace that I'm not going to do. Okay. So let me stop sharing my, I mean, my Zoom that I'm using for streaming purpose. So we came to the end of our today's lab. Just for your info, I'm going to demonstrate more labs every day as of today. So the new announcement will be done. So just be subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you will get the necessary info about upcoming videos. Thank you for watching. Best of luck.